The idea of your father being stuck in this cell, being tortured.
He's in a very small cell, 22 hours a day at the moment.
There have been 10 people who have died in that prison.
What is your message to General Kasim Suliman, the current leader in Pakistan?
Respect democracy, respect the will of the Pakistani people, and respect the rule of law.
Trump has a great relationship with our father and vice versa.
Thank you, Piers.
If anyone can make a difference, he can.
Are you prepared to risk being arrested and going to Pakistan?
On one side, we just want to see him. It's been too long since we've spoken to him.
Do you fear that he may die in there?
There's so many ways for them to plot some kind of assassination.
Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has now been in jail for almost 2 years. He's currently serving a 14-year sentence on corruption charges he's always denied. His wife Bushra is serving 7 years. Reports suggest that both Khan and his wife are now being kept in harsh and degrading conditions, which amount to political persecution, and that Bushra has been gravely unwell. Well, Khan and his party remain hugely popular in Pakistan, and the case has roiled the country, which Khan claims is living under an undeclared martial law. Well, joining me from our studio in London are Imran Khan's two sons, Suliman and Kasim. Well, welcome to both of you to Uncensored. I said this to your dad when I last interviewed him. When I was about 10 years old, I was a fan of Sussex County Cricket Club and used to bowl at your dad in the nets when he played at Sussex. And all I remember about him was he was an incredibly kind-hearted, generous man then as a cricketer who allowed kids to bowl him in the net. So, I go back a long way with your dad in his other incarnations, a great cricketer. For you guys, I know you both love your cricket, but for you guys, just on a human level, let me start with you, Suliman, if I may. On a human level, you've now not seen your father for how long?
Coming up to 3 years in November.
And you haven't spoken to him, I think, for at least 4 months?
Yeah. Last time we spoke was in March, I think.
Right, and you're 28, and Kasim, you're 26. I've got three sons, 32, 28, 24. I couldn't imagine going a week without having any contact with them. What has this been like for you guys on a human level?
I mean, it's been, it's obviously brutal. We're used to speaking to our father very often. I mean, the court mandated that we speak to him once a week. We barely spoke to him, once every 2 or 3 months. And even when we did speak to him, we would often get a message at around 2 a.m. in the morning saying, you're going to speak to him at 9 a.m. And so if you miss it, that rolls on. It's another 2 months we don't speak to him. So that was our one kind of solace, that we got to at least speak to him occasionally. Now, since the last interview we did, it seems they've become a little bit stricter, and we haven't spoken to him once since the last interview we did. It seems like that's kind of a technique that they're using to try and break him or cause him a little bit more distress.
And Suliman, what conditions do you believe your dad is now living in?
So he's in a very small cell. He has to be in there 22 hours a day at the moment. He's only allowed out of his cell for 2 hours a day at the moment. They've restricted access. Books were kind of his only solace. They've kind of restricted access to the books that he wants. He's had access to his lawyers and his personal physician, and his family members restricted.
I'd like to add as well, the conditions in there are awful, as in there have been 10 people who have died in that prison of hepatitis C, and that's because of unsanitary conditions, equipment like razors and things that haven't been cleaned properly. So, it's very, very clear to see their awful conditions. He's washing himself in water that isn't just unfiltered, it's visibly murky. It's apparently discolored. So, the hygiene levels in there are pretty abhorrent.
Do you fear, Kasim, that he may die in there?
I mean, you try not to think about things like that, but yeah, I mean, I've had moments where I've thought, am I going to see him again? And it's been so long. This is the longest we've ever not seen him. Also, the longest I've ever not spoken to him. So now it's just getting so desperate that we're quite private people. We don't usually do things like this, but it's getting to a stage where we're desperate. We want to do whatever we can.
You know, I last spoke to your father just soon after the assassination attempt on his life, and he said this: when you're a political leader and you're in the situation that you're in now, where there's a genuine threat against you of assassination, do you feel fear?
No, you know, Piers, when I entered politics, I actually had conquered my fear of dying. Otherwise, I would not have entered politics, because I came in to stand up against the entire status quo. I came to fight corruption. Today, the entire political spectrum, 16 parties on one side and I'm on the other side. And because this was the status quo, which is 60 years of our last 62 years, half has been ruled by military and half by these two families. So I came to fight these two families.
You know, it's shown extraordinary courage there, Kasim. You know, I'm not surprised. He's as a political leader, he's behaved exactly the way he did as a cricketer. You know, showing great courage and leadership and so on. But you know, that was an occasion where he very nearly got killed. I mean, it was a very, very close escape from assassination. Again, as his son, what is that like for you?
Look, Piers, we built a very thick skin with him. When we were younger, we knew he always went headfirst into very dangerous situations. He went against mafias. We saw him get shot. That was the last time we actually went over there. Was straight after that, and it's the last time we saw him. But you know, he's a very resilient character. He's always been like that. It's his strong faith. He was like that even before he had that strong faith. It's obviously it's brutal to see him right now. This is one of the worst situations I've kind of gone through, because we really didn't think it was going to be this long, his sentence or his incarceration. You know, it's an unpredictable place, Pakistan, but to be in there nearly coming up to 2 years, yeah, it's brutal. So it's the first time I've really wavered a little bit on my faith in him being okay. So that's why we're here.
Suliman, I did another interview with your dad where he talked about you guys. Let's take a look at this. You also, Imran, you have kids back here in the UK, and your ex-wife Jemima was on Twitter saying how relieved that they all were to see that you'd survived this. But, you know, in those moments, you must also, you're a father. You know, what were your thoughts once you knew you'd survived about your sons? Did you want to speak to them quickly? Because obviously they would hear about it perhaps before you could even talk to them.
I went to the hospital, 2 hours drive. The moment I got there, then I spoke to my sons. And of course, I spoke to my wife, both of them. My wife actually was remarkable. You know, the fact that I was saved, she was quite relieved. But my boys were sort of quite worried. And I hope to see them soon.
I mean, are they keen for you now to stay out of the public eye? Is that on your mind, your sons, and how they feel?
My sons, when they were younger, I'm talking about my older son was very sensitive. So when they were about 8, 9 years old, my older son, that's when he used to worry a lot, you know, and he always wanted me out of politics. But, I feel that, we human beings have a responsibility to our society. And this is the spiritual way of life. There are two ways. One is material yourself. The other is the spiritual. And some 30 years ago, when I went on the spiritual path, that's the only reason I came into politics, because I realized I had a responsibility being so privileged in this country.
How do you feel watching that back, Suliman?
Well, it's completely true. When I was younger, sort of 9, 10, we'd constantly hear about his life being in danger, and I'd always beg him to leave politics, live a more comfortable life, maybe living off the back of his cricket career. But as we've got older, as he's got more successful in politics, I've kind of learned that, and also just getting older and understanding these things a bit more, He wouldn't be happy if he wasn't doing what he's doing. Even if he was living a comfortable life with us in the UK or in Pakistan, he genuinely wouldn't be happy if he wasn't trying to make a change over there.
What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. Experts at American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off debt. Consultants are helping many homeowners to restructure their loans and consolidate dates, all with no upfront fees. Their customers are saving an average of $800 per month, which is like a $10,000 raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. So call them today before it's too late. 866-721-3300. That's 866-721-3300. Or visit americanfinancing.net/peers. The ups and downs of the economy can be stressful and worrying. One of the smartest ways to protect your savings is with diversification. And you can start by talking to the experts at Birch Gold Group. Gold's value has surged 40% in the past 12 months, driven by record-breaking central bank purchases. Even with global instability, demand for gold continues to grow. Birch Gold makes it easy. You can own gold to store at home, or you can convert an IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered gold IRA. Just text my name, Piers, to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, only useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, Birch Gold lets you take control of your savings today. Text the word Piers, that's P-I-E-R-S, to 989898. Kasim, I know that you guys were planning to go over to Pakistan and try and help your father and maybe even affect his release, but that you've been told you won't get visas and that if you do go, you may face arrest and indeed potential imprisonment.
Yeah.
Is that the case? And what do you intend to do given that backdrop?
Well, yeah, so we wanted to go. We want to do whatever we can, as I said, to try and make a difference. We heard maybe, on one side, we just want to see him. It's been too long since we've spoken to him. So when we floated the idea of going, we were told by people in the Pakistani government that we would be arrested. And from other people, we heard, we had warnings from family members, inside sources, all sorts of people saying similar. So we've still tried to get our visas. We still are looking to go at some point. We've applied for our visas, that we haven't had a response as yet. We'll see what happens.
Suliman, how determined are you guys to try and get your father out of prison?
Incredibly determined. That's like Kasim said, we're quite private people. We wouldn't normally do this sort of thing, but we've recently been to America to speak to politicians over there to see what we can do, see if they can help support and advocate for his release. It's just got to the stage where we're doing everything we can to help from abroad. If we can't go over there, if we don't have assurances that we can go over there and see him and make a difference there.
Kasim, what's your message for President Trump? Because he, probably of all world leaders right now, he might be able to affect real pressure on this situation. Do you have a message for him?
Well, yeah. I mean, if anyone can make a difference, he can. We spoke to Richard Grenell, and he was a big advocate of my father. He publicly tweeted in favor of our father. We know that Trump has a great relationship with our father. We know, and vice versa. They had great conversations when they were both in office, and they seem to have mutual respect for one another. If Trump was able to make a statement or in any way speak to the establishment over there to get our father released, I know he's one of the few people who can. So of course, we would love to kind of have a conversation with him or hope for some help from him or support.
Obviously, you don't give interviews, you guys, Kasim, and you barely do this kind of thing ever. You've always been very private, as you said, and I've always been very respectful of that to you guys. I know your dad, I know your mum very well. For you to come out and do this kind of interview is a big deal for you, isn't it? Is part of the thinking that you will just raise a lot of awareness, that people may see this and the pressure may increase in a helpful way?
Yes, for sure. We want politicians in the UK and America to speak up about the situation over there, the human rights violations. You know, there are countless human rights violations, from the torture tactics they use, turning off the power for 10 days in his cell and all lights in his cell. That's a genuine torture tactic. From the amount of daylight he's able to see. We want these human rights issues to be spoken about by journalists, by politicians, anyone who has a voice, to spread awareness about what's going on over there. And it's not just a human rights issue; it's a democratic issue. The people of Pakistan voted for him. He's the most popular candidate in Pakistan. The people of 250 million people in Pakistan deserve to have their voices heard. If anything, we would just say to speak out. Don't be afraid to speak out about this situation and give some support to what's going on to his situation, what's going on over there.
Suliman, have you had a chance to talk to the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer?
No, we haven't. But we would love a chance to speak to anyone, any sort of senior figure in the British government.
Or David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary?
Indirectly, through our mother, but no, not directly.
I really, like I said, I started this with talking to you about this on a human level. Just as a father of 3 boys myself, it's a heartbreaking situation that you guys have found yourself in, and I just think it must be an intolerable stress on you. I mean, Kasim, you talked about torture there. Just the idea of your father being stuck in this cell, being tortured as a political prisoner, as many people see him. That must be incredibly stressful. How are you getting on with just regular life with this going on?
I mean, it's difficult. You have to dissociate to a certain degree. I get on with my work. I'm busy. I run a company here, so I try and just focus on my day-to-day. But at moments like this, you have to realize that everyone has a duty in their life, and we're born into a lot of privilege. We're very lucky, and so one thing we have to do is just focus on this as much as possible right now and try and get him out of this situation. He's done so much for the people of Pakistan. He's built the first cancer hospital in Pakistan. He's built universities there. He won the World Cup in '92. The people of Pakistan adore him, and for good reason. And the least we can do is, as sons, is try and speak up about this and try and make some kind of impact. So even if it is a little bit painful, speaking about it is the very least we can do.
And Suliman, he's been convicted in Pakistan of corruption charges, as has his wife. What is your response to that?
Well, I think anyone who knows him knows that he's not a corrupt person. If he was truly corrupt, he's been offered multiple times to join one of the established parties, and he could have just enriched himself that way, as they have. Instead, he chose to start his own party 30 years ago. Took him 20 years to even be taken seriously in politics. And he could have lived a comfortable life, like I've said, off the back of his cricket career. The whole reason that he started his party in the first place was to fight the kind of rampant corruption that Pakistan has suffered from since its inception, really. I think anyone who knows him, even people within the establishment who are accusing him of this, know that he's not a corrupt person.
I interviewed Imran's sister, Alima Khan, in February last year, and she said this.
He was shot. There were about 2 snipers and 1 person on the ground who shot at his rally. But then there was another attempt when they barely made it out of the judicial complex, but they had snipers on the rooftops. They were going to shoot at them. That was about to be a second attempt. So it's not that it's 2 attempts. And in jail, maybe we were worried about his safety in jail. Like, is he safe in jail? Will they poison him? So there's always a concern. But I think he's helped all of us come through the past few months. And we feel, well, if you're going to die, then it's going to be a big contribution towards a cause.
I mean, there she was raising the spectre of somebody potentially poisoning him, Kasim. I mean, the problem is he's kind of defenseless in there, isn't he? He's on his own, he's defenseless. It's a very vulnerable place for him to find himself.
Yeah, completely. It's horrible thinking about him in that cell. When you hear the stories about it just getting worse and worse, what really was quite painful to hear was recently hearing about him losing a lot of weight. The heat over there is unbearable, and we know he doesn't have any air conditioning, he doesn't have any fan. And so he's stuck in this small solitary confinement cell in blazing heat. And losing weight is just not a good sign for someone who's in their 70s, who's been shot recently 3 times. It's the health risks are massive. So there's so many ways for them to plot some kind of assassination. They have complete control, and it's extremely distressing.
Yeah, I mean, Suliman, that is what would be really concerning me if I was in your shoes, is that there's already been assassination attempts on his life. He got his sister talking about potential poison plots and so on. None of this is far-fetched. This kind of thing, I remember meeting Benazir Bhutto a few months before she was assassinated. This is part of life, in political life in Pakistan, sadly. What is your message to General Asim Munir, who's the current leader in Pakistan? What's your message to him about what's happening with your father?
I would say respect democracy, first of all, respect the will of the Pakistani people, which was clear despite huge rigging in the general election in February last year, and respect the rule of law, and give him a proper, fair trial. That would be my message, I think.
And Kasim, are you prepared, you guys, to risk being arrested and going to Pakistan?
Yeah, for sure. We've been attempting to go for a little while. We're looking through whatever we can. So what will be will be. We'll see what happens, but we 100% will be going at some point, whether he likes it or not.
Well, listen. Yeah, I greatly appreciate you coming on Uncensored. I've been very moved by your plight. I've talked to your mother a lot, as you know, about this. I feel a long-time affinity with your dad. Like I say, he was very kind to me when I was a young lad, and I haven't forgotten that. And it was fascinating watching him go into politics and a whole different world. But it's a very dangerous position that he now finds himself in. And I just hope and pray that at some stage, sooner rather than later, common sense prevails and you get your dad back, or at the very least you get to see him and talk to him and interact with him, because it must be just for yourselves, never mind him, a form of torture that's going on. So Kasim and Suliman, thank you both very much indeed.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Piers.
Well, best of luck to you in your campaign. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.